Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll see another problem which is find common characters. The question says, given a string array words, return an array of all characters that show up in all these strings within the words, including duplicates. You may return the answer in any order. That means that all the characters that are present in all the strings in words, we need to return that. So let's quickly go through one of the example. We were given a list of strings which was like Bella, label and roller. Now we need to find the common characters that are present in all of these three strings. So what we will do, we will create a list. Let's say we will name it as common count. We'll give it a size of 26 because there are only 26 alphabets that we have. Initially, we will initialize it to 0. So at all the positions from 0 to 25, all the values would be 0. So initially, it's 0 for all. Now, since it's given in the constraints that the word length lies between 1 to 100, that means it is assured that there always be a word present in the list. So we will iterate through first string, which is Bella, and increment the count. If that character is present, then we'll increment the count for that particular index in the common count. So what we will do while iterating, when B comes into picture, then we will increment its count by 1. So it becomes 1. Next character is E. So we'll increment its count by 1. Then we have L. So we'll increment its count by 1. Then the next character is again L. So we'll increment 1 by 1, that is 2. And then at the end we have A. So we'll increment it by 1. So rest of the characters are still having the frequency as 0. Then we will run a loop from first string to the last string, and in that loop, let's say it is for I is equal to 1 to the length of the size of the word. Then we will be creating another list. Let's say we name it as cur count. Again it will be of length 26, and we initially assign all the values in it to 0. Now the next word that we have is label. Now we will keep track of the count for these characters. So let's say and we will be inserting these values into the car count list. So the first character that we see now is L. So let's say frequency of L is 1. Moving on to the next character, which is A. Frequency of A is 1. Now moving on to the next character, that is B. its frequency is already also 1. The next character is E. Again, its frequency is 1, and the last character is L. Since we have already encountered L, so we'll increment its frequency by 1 and it becomes 2. Then, for all the characters from A to Z, that is from length 0 to 26, what we will do is, okay, see, we will match the frequency from common count and car count. See, if there is a character that is present in first string and the second string, suppose it's A. A is there in Bella as well as in label. That means its frequency is 1, the common count that would be 1. Now suppose there are 2 L's in Bella but there is only 1 L in label. Since there are 2 L's in Bella and 1 L in label, then the common character that we would be having is 1 because there was 1 L in label. I mean, I know that there are 2 L's in label, but we are assuming that for now. Okay, so what we will do is, for our common count, which was the main list, what we will do, will set the ith character for common count equal to minimum of common count of I, comma, current count of I. So we'll run a loop from 0 to 25. As you know, arrays do have 0 based indexing. And what we will do is, okay, we'll say that for I is equal to 0 and less than 26, plus plus, we'll say that car count of I would be equal to the minimum of car count of I, comma, common count of I. It would be the common count of I. So currently in common count, what we would be having it as, so first string was Bella, and second string is label. So in common count, now we will be having it as, since B is common for both, so we'll have B equal to 1. Again, E is present in both. E is equal to 1. L is also present in both. L is equal to 2 since it's present twice in both these strings. Now A is also present. It is 1. Moving on to the next string, which was roller. Now in current count, we will have R is equal to 1. O is equal to 1. L is equal to 1. Next character is again L, so we'll increment it by 1. Next character is E. So the frequency is 1 and the next character is R, so we'll increment its value by 1. Now it was our common count and this is the current count. So what we will do is we'll take the intersection for both. So the common count of I would be equal to minimum of current count comma common count. So now the common count becomes so moving alphabetically, we encounter the first character, that is A. A is 1 in common count, but there is no A in cur count, which means it's 0. So A would be equal to minimum of 1 comma 0 B is equal to minimum of 1 comma 0, that is equal to 0. Next we have E. E is present in both. So minimum of 1 comma 1 is equal to 1. Next we have L. L is present in both twice. Minimum of 2 comma 2 is 2. Next we have O. In first one, O is not present. So we'll be having it as minimum of 0 comma 1. We have R. Now we see R is not there in our current count, sorry, common count, but it is present in the current count. So R would be minimum of 0 comma 2, which is equal to 0. 0 in the above case as well. So now our common count having frequency greater than 0 is for the two characters only, that is E and L. So at the end we'll create a answer vector. It would be of a string type. So what will we do is we will surf through all the alphabets from A to Z. So what we will write it as for I is equal to 0, I less than 26, I plus plus, then the number of count, then the number of times that character is present, we will append it to the answer. So we will have it as E is present one time. So answer becomes answer is equal to E. Then moving on to the other characters, rest were 0, then we encounter L. So we see that L is present 2 times, so we'll append our answer with L twice. And then the rest of the characters were still 0 till Z, so we'll not be doing anything to our answer and we'll return the same. And we can match it with the example that was given, which says that the output is ELL. So let me quickly help you with the coding part for the same. So what we will do, we will create a list of integers, that is the common count, let its size be 26 and we'll initialize it to 0. Then for first word, what we will write is that for characters in first word. If that particular character is present, then for that index, which we would be writing it as character minus small a plus plus, it will increment the frequency if that character is present there, or else it remains 0. Next, we'll iterate over the rest of the strings. So for int I is equal to 1, I less than words dot size, I plus plus. Now we'll create another list, that is vector of int char count, which will be storing the count for the characters that we are traversing now. It is of 26 length and initializing all the characters to 0 initially. Then we will traverse all the strings letter by letter. So we'll write for character in words I. What we will do is we'll increment the char count for that character by 1. Now we need to find what is the count that is matching for both these strings. So we'll be writing it as for integer j is equal to 0 less than 26 plus plus. What we will do is we'll update our common count of j as minimum of common count of j comma current count of j. Next, we'll be creating a vector of a string type to store our answer. Then we will search for all the characters. So for int I is equal to 0 less than 26 plus plus, we will get the letter count, means the number of times that letter is present, which was common for all the strings, would be equal to common count of I. Now, since the number of times that letter is present, we need to append that letter by that number of times in answer. So we will do is for int j is equal to 0 less than letter count j plus plus answer dot pushback. Since the data that we will be adding in our answer vector needs to be string type, so we'll write it as string 1 comma I plus a. So what this I is doing is it is basically what the 1 is doing is it is basically creating a string of length 1 from the character type. At the end we'll return the answer. Now let me quickly run it. Let me quickly submit it for you. Okay, so let me quickly convert the code in other languages as well. So moving on to Java, we'll have integer array that is common count is equal to new int of size 26. We will initialize all the characters to 0. So we'll be writing it as arrays dot fill name of the array common count comma 0. Then for characters in first word, we'll say is common count character minus a plus plus, and we traverse the rest of the letters, rest of the strings. I is equal to 1 2, I less than words dot length I plus plus. We create another integer array char count again of length 26. We initialize it to 0 by arrays dot fill char count comma 0. Now we store the frequencies for particular word in it, so we'll be writing it as for character ch in words of I. Since we know that in Java we cannot directly traverse the string, so we'll be converting it into character array first. We'll be using that by using to array, and we'll be saying it as char count of character minus a plus plus. Now we need to find the common characters and update our common count, so we'll be writing it as for integer j is equal to 0, j less than 26, j plus plus, common count of j is equal to minimum of, that is math dot minimum of common count of j, comma char count of j. Then we will create a list of string type, that is answer is equal to new array list. And for all the alphabets, that is for integer I is equal to 0 less than 26, I plus plus, will get the letters count as char count of I as common count of I. Then for integer j is equal to 0 less than letter count j plus plus, answer dot add string dot value of I plus a. We also write the char here just to make sure that our code works fine, and we return it at the end. Let's quickly check it. Okay, let's submit it. Now moving on to C sharp. We will create an integer array. Again, common count is equal to new int, size is 26 again. We initialize it to 0 by writing array.fill common count comma 0. Then for each character ch in words of 0, that is the first word that is present, we'll say common count of char minus a plus plus. Then we will traverse the rest of the strings. So for int I is equal to 1, we will quickly traverse the rest of the strings. So let's say for I is equal to 1 to I less than words dot length I plus plus integer array, that is char count is equal to new int of size 26. We initialize all its values to 0. So array.fill char count comma 0. Then for each character ch in words of I, we'll say cur count of ch minus a plus plus. Then we'll update our common count. So for integer I is equal to, j is equal to 0, j less than 26, j plus plus, we will write it as common count of j is equal to mat dot minimum of common count of j comma cur count of j. Next we will create a list of a string type. Answer is equal to new list of a string type. Then for integer I is equal to 0 less than 26, I plus plus will get the letters count. So int letter count is equal to common count of I. Then we will say for integer j is equal to 0 less than letter count j plus plus. We'll append the character to our answer. So answer dot add will say I plus a of char type, and we'll convert it into a string using toString. At the end we will return the answer. Let me quickly run it. Let me quickly submit it and check. Moving on to Python, we create common count and initialize it to 0 and let the length be 26. Then for character in words of 0, that is the first word, what we will do is common count of character minus a. We will be writing ch minus the same for a. It will retrieve the ASCII values for us plus equal 1. Next, we traverse rest of the words. So for word in words of I, we create another list. Cur count is equal to 0 of size 26. Now for character in that word, we store the frequency in cur count. So cur count basically ch minus a plus equal 1. Then we update our common count. So for I in range 26, we'll say common count of I is equal to minimum of common count of I comma cur count of I. Next we'll create an answer list as empty. Then for I in range 26 again, We will append our answer by answer.extend. We'll be having character, that is, we write it as chr I plus value for a, ASCII value for a, and we multiply it by the number of times it is common. That is, in our example, L was present twice, so we'll write it as common count of I. At the end, return the answer. Okay, here we will be writing for words and rest of the words. So we'll be using slicing. So 1 : what it will do is it will traverse through all of the strings excluding the first one, because we have already updated the frequencies for it in our initial list, that was common count. Okay, it works fine. Let me quickly submit it. Yeah, so that was all for today. Thank you everyone.